Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 38. अथाचकां भगवान् नारदः सह तुम्बुरुः प्रत्युत्थायाभिवाद्याः सानुजोऽभ्यर्चयन् मुनिम्.
While Sanjay was thus speaking, Sri Narad, the powerful devotee of the Lord, appeared on the scene carrying his tumburu. Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers received him properly by getting up from their seats and offering obeisances.
Text 39. Yudhishthira uvacha Naham veda gatim pitro bhagavan kva gatavitaha ambavahada putrartha kva gata cha tapasvini.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said, O godly personality, I do not know where my two uncles have gone, nor can I find my ascetic aunt who is grief-stricken by the loss of all her sons.
Text 40. Karnadhar iva pare bhagavan paradarshakaha atha babhashe bhagavan narado munisattamaha.
You are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean, and you can direct us to our destination. Thus addressed, the godly personality, Devarishi Narad, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak.
Text 41. Narada uvacha Ma kanchan shucho rajan yadishvaravasham jagat lokaha sapalaya se me vahanti parimishituhu sasayunakti bhutani sa eva viyunakti cha.
Sri Narad said, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them.
Text 42. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam pathashtadamabihi vaktantyam namabhirbadha vahanti parimeshituhu.
As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme.
Text 43. Yatha kridopaskaranam sayoga vigama ichchaya kridituhu syatam tathe vaishechaya nunam.
As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings men together and separates them.
Text 44. Yanmanyase dhruvam lokam dhruvam vana chobhayam sarvatha nahi shochaste snehadanyatra mohajat.
O king, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be the eternal principle or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in the impersonal absolute truth, or everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feelings of separations are due only to illusory affection and nothing more.
Text 45. Tasmajayankaha vaiklavyam jnanakrutamatmanaha katham tvanatha krupana varteranste cha mambina.
Therefore, give up your anxiety due to ignorance of the self. We are now thinking of how they, who are helpless, poor creatures, will exist without you.
Text 46. Kala karma gunadhino deho yam pancha bhautikaha kathamanyamstu gopayet sarpagrasto yatha param.
This gross material body made of 5 elements is already under the control of eternal time, Kal, action, karma, and the modes of material nature, guna. How then can it, being already in the jaws of the serpent, protect others?
Text 47. Ahastani sahastanam padani chatushpadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam.
Those who are devoid of hands are prey for those who have hands. Those devoid of legs are prey for the four-legged. The weak are the substitutes of the strong, and the general who holds that one living being is food for another.
Text 48. Tadidam bhagavan rajan eka atmatmanam swadru antaro nantaro bhati pashyatam mayayoruda.
Therefore, O king, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second and who manifests himself by different energies and is both within and without.
Text 49. Soyamadya Maharaj Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kalarupo Vartinosyam Bhavaya Suradvisham.
That Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, in the guise of all devouring time, Kal Rup, has now descended to the earth to eliminate the envious from the world.
Text 50. Nishpaditam Devakrutyam Avashesham Pratikshate Tavad Yuyam Avikshadvam Bhavet Yavad Diheshwaraha.
The Lord has already performed his duties to help the demigods, and he is awaiting the rest. You Pandavas may wait as long as the Lord is here on earth.
Text 51. Dhritarashtraha saha pratra Gandharya cha swabharyaya Dakshine himavat rushi nam ashramam gataha.
O king, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidur, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalaya mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages.
Text 52. Strotobhihi saptabhirya vai svardhuni saptadhavyathat saptanam pritaye nana saptastrotah prachakshate.
The place is called Saptarota, divided by 7, because there the waters of the sacred Ganges were divided in 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the 7 great rishis.
Text 53. Snatvanusavanam tasmin utva chagninyathavidihi abhaksha upashantatma sa aste vigateshanaha.
On the banks at the Saptasrota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Astanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily, in the morning, noon, and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire and by drinking only water. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection.
Text 54. Jitasano jitashvasaha pratyarhuta shadindriyaha hari bhavanaya dvasta rajaha sattvatamormalaha.
One who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic asanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses toward the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Text 55. Vijnanatmani sanyojya kshetradni pravilapyatam brahmanyatmanamadhare ghatambara mivambare.
Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity, with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the block sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky.
Text 56. Dvastamaya gunodarko niruddha karnashayah nivartita khilahara aste sthano rivachalah tasyantarayo maivabhu sanyasta khila karmanaha.
He will have to suspend all the actions of the senses, even from the outside, and will have to be impervious to interactions of the senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all material duties, he must become immovably established, beyond all sources of hindrances on the path.
Text 57. Sava atyatnad rajan paratah panchamehani kalevaram hasyati swam taccha bhasmi bhavishyati.
O king, he will quit his body most probably on the 5th day from today, and his body will turn to ashes.
Text 58. Dayyamanek nibhidher hai patyuh patni sahotaje bahihi stita patim sadhvi tamagni manuvekshati.
While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention.
Text 59. Vidurasto tadascharya nishamya kurunandana harshashokayutastasmad ganta tirtha nishevakaha.
Vidur, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage.
Text 60. Ityuktvatharuhat swargam naradah sahatumbaruho yudhishthiro vachastasya rudhi krutva jahachuchaha.
Having spoken thus, the great sage Narad, along with his Veena, ascended into outer space. Yudhishthir kept his instruction in his heart and so was able to get rid of all lamentations. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, and sorry if I have made many mistakes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. It was to start with the in the English, translated by Krishna. Thank you, so beautifully recited to both of you. So today, the verse I'm going to be sharing with everyone is from chapter 13, verse 51 and 52. So, can everyone see that?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll just start as well. So the actual chapters, Canto 1, chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home, in the verse 51. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayam Namaskapcham Naram Chayanotanam, Devim Saraswati Vyasam Patojayam Viraya, Astashu Bhadashu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavatam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Verse 51. Yatarastra Sahapratra Kandaya Cha Sarvabhayaya Dashinena Himavata Vishina Mashramam Kataha. Word for word translation. Dhritarashtra Saha, along with Pratra, his brother Vidura, Gandhari also, Cha and Svabharaya, his own wife, Dashinena, by the southern side, Umavataha, of the Himalaya mountains, Vishinam, of the Rishis, Ashramam, in shelter, Kataha, he has gone. Translation. Okay, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalaya mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages. It's a very small purport. By his divine grace, I see Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. To pacify the mourning, Maharaj Yudhishthira Narada first of all spoke from the philosophical point of view, and then he began to describe the future movements of his uncle, which he could see by his four seeing powers, and thus began to describe as follows. Verse 52. Shlotabhihi shaptabhi chava yavai swadhuni shaptadav yadat shaptana pitayi nana shapta shrota pachakshati. Word for word translation. Shlotabhihi by currents, shaptabhihi by 7 divisions, Ya, the river, Vai, certainly, Svadhuni, the sacred Ganges, Saptada, 7 branches, Yadat, created, Saptanam, of the 7, Vitaye, for the satisfaction of, Nana, various, Saptashrotaha, 7 sources, Pachakshate, known by name, translation. A place is called Shapta Shrota, divided by 7, because there the waters of the sacred Ganges were divided into 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the 7 great rishis. Okay, let's recite the invocation verse. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnana Janashalakaya Chakshurmanitam Yena Tasve Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padad Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Karanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakachana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishtabhanu Sataya Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vachakapa Tarubhyascha Vipa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for joining in. Kind of ask the blessings of all the devotees who are listening. You can kind of give me the intelligence so I can speak on the wonderful glories and topics of Shri Krishna and his devotees. Right off for my respectful obeisances to my special master too. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Putale, Shipate, Bhakti Guru Swami Tanamane, and to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Putale, Shipate, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamane, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane, Nirvashesa Sunyavadi Pasyatya Desatarine. So thank you once again for joining me for tonight's jazz session on the 30th of April, 2023. Later on, we'll go to Navrata Mataji, who's going to be singing the Nishinga prayers because there's going to be Nishinga Dev Chaturdasi on the 4th of May, this Thursday. So she's going to be reciting or singing the prayers for Lord Nishingadev, glorifying Lord Nishingadev with the Lord Maharaj. So we're just going back to the topic from this particular chapter, Dhritarashtra leaves home. So we understand, when I spoke last week, I gave a little background into Dhritarashtra, who his father was, who his mother was, in a way was actually a maidservant. But actually, Dhritarashtra, who was blind by nature, by birth, he was actually taken away from the position of a king because of his situation of being blind. He was not able to rule the kingdom properly. So the kingdom went to his younger brother, Pandu. But Pandu, unfortunately, passed away. But at the same time, Draupadi not Draupadi, Queen Kunti, his wife, had the ability or had a vow, a benediction to actually call upon any spiritual demigod, and from the demigod she could actually have a child. And the 5 children were 5 Pandavas, of course. There was another sibling she had as well, and that was Karna, and he was born through the blessings of Vivashwan. The other sons were King Yudhishthira. There was also Bhima, Arjuna, and Nakula, and Sahadev. But it just so happened that during the time of the rule of when Pandu had passed away, the rule went back to Dhritarashtra. And unfortunately, the way he treated his children was far superior than his stepsons, or rather his nephews, the Pandavas. And when we explained last week, they were actually in a very unfortunate situation. They designed a beautiful building made out of wax, which they could live in. They were really honored to have this beautiful building they couldn't understand. And unfortunately, the intention was that when they were actually sleeping in the beautiful palace made out of wax, something very flammable, they actually set it alight, but only Vidura knew about it, and he allowed or made a way for them to be escaped through a hidden passage from the burning palace of wax. They were managed to escape. And at the same time, there was many other situations where they were cheated from their kingdom, all the possessions, their wealth, their army, through the cheating game of the gambling match. They destroyed Draupadi, humiliated her. But yet, when you actually read the last few verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, even Yudhishthira, he knew how he was treated, how his mother was treated, how his brothers were treated. Still, he had so much compassion for his uncle Dhritarashtra. And it's very difficult to understand this, but because Yudhishthira is actually the son of Dharma, he was upholding righteousness. And at the same time, he had this feeling of compassion, feeling of sorrow, feeling of love towards his father and towards his uncle and auntie, Dhritarashtra, and his wife Gandhari. So from a birth, Yudhishthira, although along with his siblings, the Pandavas, and Mother Queen Kunti, they were put in a very unfortunate situation, partly due to their cousin, Duryodhana, who was very envious of them. He was very envious of Bhima, because Bhima, he got the blessings of having the strength of 10,000 elephants. And even though Duryodhana was actually trained by Balaram himself, still they were almost like equally, equal in battle and equal in strength almost. But it just so happened it was actually Krishna who was favoring the Pandavas and always protected the Pandavas. So whoever's on the side of Krishna, of course, there's nobody who can dare touch you. But yeah, if you become the enemy of Krishna, there's nobody who can save you at all from Krishna. So it's so important that even though Dhritarashtra was actually, after being told by Vidura, his brother, saying, look, what are you doing? Why are you staying in the palace? You're actually accepting everything from your nephew, who are treating you like the king, but really, you're supposed to be taking care of your nephews. And in this way, Vidura was actually explaining from a spiritual perspective that you and your wife, Gandhari, should actually go. And this is these particular verses come into question today. But they actually go to the southern side of the Himalaya mountains. And the particular place is actually called Shabda Strota. It's actually divided into 7. And actually the 7 divisions actually was for the satisfaction of the 7 great rishis. 7 great rishis were born from the mind of Lord Brahma. And they meditated for many thousands and thousands of years. And when they did eventually emerge, they actually saw the actual planet full of trees and so forth. And they actually tried to destroy all the planets, the whole landscape, which was completely covered in forest. But then Lord Brahma had to come and pacify them and say, no, don't burn the streets away. But at the same time, they were actually taught nicely on the instructions of spiritual wisdom by Lord Shiva. All these particular topics are actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Unfortunately, it was quite a long time ago since I last read it, and I didn't have an opportunity to actually refresh my memory on this particular discussion between Lord Shiva and the Saptarishi. But it's a very beautiful topic, I've been told, and it's really worthwhile reading when you do get the opportunity. So, just understanding Yudhishthira, even though he's feeling very compassionate towards his uncle who treated him really badly, you can understand why is Yudhishthira treating him so nicely. After all, Yudhishthira was the son of Dharma, so his duty was to uphold righteousness, to uphold Dharma. What is Dharma? Dharma is made of rules, regulations, moral conduct, and it was duty for him to follow that. If he did not follow those instructions, then of course everybody would follow whatever way a person would lead. Whatever action a great man performs, common man will follow. Whatever standards he sets, for example, acceptable pursuits, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So Yudhishthira had to act like an ideal king. But there was a time when he was also had to almost not necessarily say a lie, but actually disobey the instructions of Lord Krishna. Now the story goes that during the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dronacharya, the spiritual master who actually trained them up, was actually killing so many of the armies from the Pandava side, was almost indestructible, and it was going full strength, head to head, trying to destroy everybody. And this actually really disrupted the army of the Pandavas, and they were really seeking for some way of actually counteracting the situation. So then Krishna suggested, look, Bhima is so strong he could kill thousands and thousands of elephants. He should kill the elephant named Ashwatthama, and you should actually say Ashwatthama happened to be also the name of Dronacharya's son, who he was very attached to. So Krishna was telling Bhima to kill this elephant, Ashwatthama, and the idea was that Yudhishthira Maharaj would actually say, call out loud, that Ashwatthama is dead, Ashwatthama is dead. So then Bhima killed this elephant named Ashwatthama, and then at that same time, Bhima was feeling very, very happy, and he started that victoriously to everyone in the army, Ashwatthama is dead, Ashwatthama is dead, Ashwatthama is dead. And then when Dronacharya heard this, he felt so remorse, he could not understand how is it possible that his son Ashwatthama had passed away. And he wanted to actually find the truth, because he felt that Bhima was slightly unworthy, he was unpredictable, and he could make up stories. Having trained him up as a young boy, he could understand his personality. So he got down from his chariot, or at least he came and approached Yudhishthira, and he actually asked Yudhishthira, is it true? Is Ashwatthama, my son, dead? Of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he sort of welcomed this spiritual master, Dronacharya, offered his obeisances to him. And then when he mentioned that Ashwatthama has passed away, is dead, is killed, and at the time he was about to say the elephant named Ashwatthama is dead, the Krishna very cleverly blew his conch shell. Another time, the conch shell was so loud that Dronacharya could not hear Yudhishthira actually say that it was actually referring to the elephant, Ashwatthama, had passed away. So as a result, when Dronacharya heard that his son had passed away, and in fact he hadn't passed away, he was feeling so remorse. He put down all his weapons and just sat down and meditated, and he just wanted to abandon the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Now at this time, Drishtadyumna, who he actually trained up himself, came and realized that Dronacharya had dropped his weapon, and this was a good opportunity to actually kill him. But actually, even Dronacharya knew that there was a prophecy to say that Drishtadyumna was going to kill him, but yet Dronacharya was such a humble and compassionate spiritual master, he still trained up Drishtadyumna, knowing well that he was going to be killed by the hands of Drishtadyumna. And it so happened that, unfortunately, while he was meditating, thinking about his own son being killed on the battlefield because he was very attached to his son, Yumna came and unfortunately decapitated his head. And it was so sad to hear the situation. And it's actually said, was just doing a little research on this, that during the battlefield of the Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira Maharaj, his chariot would be at least 3 or 4 fingers floating above the ground itself. And now, when he actually made that lie, some say it was a lie, some say it wasn't. He spoke the truth, but it was just not heard by Dronacharya. But at the time, his chariot had dropped and it actually touched, so it was in contact, the wheels were in contact with the ground. And somebody could argue, well, this was actually an action or a reaction of just Yudhishthira Maharaj saying a lie that Ashwatthama had died. But actually, does anybody know the reason why his chariot had touched the ground? Was it for his offense of lying, do you think? From what I understand, from what I read, Krishna Mataji, were you going to say something? No, okay. It was actually, the reason being was that he actually disobeyed the instructions of Krishna. So when Krishna actually told him what he should be doing, he sort of hesitated and said, no, Krishna, I cannot lie. So he hesitated. So this is the reason why he actually had this reaction where his chariot was, because he was so pure by nature, by his qualities, by his personality, the chariot, instead of floating a few fingers above the ground, actually landed onto the ground itself. And the reaction was that he disobeyed the instructions of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to disobey the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether you think it's right or wrong or immoral, then it's actually an offense. Just like with Parshuram, his father asked him to kill his sons, kill his sons and his wife, due to a story which I won't go into detail. Parshuram did not hesitate at all. He took the instructions of his father, his spiritual master, and slew his own siblings and his own mother. But of course, there's a reason behind every story. But they actually came back alive through the mercy of the father. After Parshuram asked him, please, I know I did a hideous crime. I followed your instructions, but bring them back alive again. They came back alive, not knowing exactly what had happened. But in this case, Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he disobeyed the orders of Krishna, that was the reason for this reaction itself. So now I'm just going to quickly share something with you. I hope you don't mind. This is actually from an article from Back to Godhead from 2021. Does anybody want to read about 3 paragraphs each? Can you see that at all? Does anybody want to read? Krishnandi Mataji? From according to Vedic sources. So the actual title of this is actually, let's just make a proper title. Curing crimes of a lifetime. This is all about Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because this is all about Dhritarashtra. Because of all this heinous crime, it actually goes on to say, after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was being protected and taken care of by Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. But yet, Vidura, when he saw this political situation, he told him, no, what are you doing? You should be actually going out to the forest, surrendering yourself, completely meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and free yourself from all super reactions. So I just got this from the Back to Godhead magazines, archive magazines from 2021 article. Would somebody like to read that quickly, please? We've only got 2 minutes left. Otherwise, I'll read. Everyone's feeling shy. Okay.
I'll read it, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure, Jyotirabha. Thank you.
According to the Vedic sources, the resulting battle, the famous battle of Kurukshetra, lasted for 18 days and took 640 million lives. Such a massacre as a result of a a vendetta between two parts of one family may seem impossible, yet an ancient records describe in considerable detail atomic weapons that could decimate entire armies. This great battle, although it took place 5,000 years ago, involved weapons more subtle and more deadly than those that modern scientists have developed. Although the contending warriors rode in chariots drawn by horses, they could shoot by mantra arrows that could find a specific target. Huge elephants fell down like cut trees before air, water, and fire weapons unknown today. When the storm of destruction finally abated, Dhritarashtra was left with nothing but his burning conscience by his good wife Gandhari. They had lost all their sons and grandsons. All the principal soldiers killed in the battle were related in some way or another. Therefore, the family members mourned together. Maharaj Yudhishthir, far from acting like a conqueror, felt great remorse. He was very conscious of his duty towards Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, and he took care of them both in real style. An indication of King Yudhishthir's glorious character is that he felt the battle of Kurukshetra to be his fault. Even though the errors of Dhritarashtra were colossal for his part, Dhritarashtra settled into the role of the honorable royal uncle, somehow resigning his conscience to the fact that because of his decision, millions of people had died within a few days. Fortunately, while Dhritarashtra was grasping at a life of skin-deep respectability, Vidura, his younger brother, returned to the palace after some years of pilgrimage. When he saw Dhritarashtra living comfortably in the palace of Yudhishthira and closely forgetting his former acts of aggression, Vidura's saintly attitude turned hard as steel. Sadhu, saint, means one who cuts. So, with words, the Sadhu Vidura began to cut away the false sense of security which Dhritarashtra felt as he sat in the gorgeous palace of his nephew. Vidura saw that Dhritarashtra was accepting the hospitality of Yudhishthira because he did not know what else to do. As his life passed imperceptibly away, Dhritarashtra spent his old age in casual ease, surrounded by what was left of his family. To Vidur, this looked like a crisis, and he compassionately began to talk to him. My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. The personality of Godhead in the form of time is approaching us all. Under the influence of time, you must surrender your life. What to speak of other things, such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home? Vidur wanted to point out to Dhritarashtra that the human form of life is meant for seeking the shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he spoke abrasively, trying to bring him to his senses. You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus. He encouraged the aging king, who had become addicted to the rarefied atmosphere of Pandava Palace, to leave home without anxiety. The first-class man wakes up and realizes the falsity and misery of this material world. He thus leaves home and depends fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. Please, therefore, leave for the north immediately without letting your relatives know. The time had come for Dhritarashtra to take his stand. Was he going to go on wasting his life, refusing to admit that his position at court was morally untenable, or he was going to polish up his tarnished values during the last days of his life? the common practice in Vedic civilization for a man to set aside the last part of his life for the sole purpose of self-realization and the attainment of salvation. Therefore, Vidur's good advice carried more weight than it would today. Because Vidur was genuinely compassionate towards Dhritarashtra, his words illuminated the consciousness that had been haunted by darkness for so many years. Dhritarashtra clearly saw the truth in what Vidur was saying, and in an extraordinary display of resolvedness, left the palace without fanfare of set out on his lonely path. Gandhari followed her husband as an expression of her loyalty, although he did not ask her to do so. They went to a palace. They went to a place called Saptasrota on the southern side of the Himalaya mountains, where the waters of the Ganges divided into 7 parts. There, Dhritarashtra practiced mystic yoga, bathing 3 times daily, performing a fire sacrifice, and drinking only water. In this way, he was able to control his mind and free it from thoughts of family life. He was able to lock up the Pandora's box of material desires and throw away the key. He thus finally freed himself of the desire to play God with the lives of others. Long before, when he declined to cooperate with Supreme Lord Krishna, Dhritarashtra had simply increased the false egotism covering his real spiritual identity. Now, through the yogic process, he learned to concentrate all his senses on the Supreme and to understand himself as Lord's eternal servitor. Thus, he got free from material propensities of hankering for power and wealth and attained his spiritual identity by the grace of his brother Vidura. Krishna had shown him mercy upon Dhritarashtra by sending Vidur. When the old king was actually practicing the instructions of Vidura, the Lord directly helped him to attain the highest perfectional stage.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya. That's
Hare
so much
Krishna.
recited. Thank you.
Hare
So you can see from here the story building up to Dhritarashtra's original position. He's becoming very envious. Always, disliked the Pandavas. He also disliked Krishna as well, because he felt like Krishna was always partial towards the Pandavas. He did not cooperate with Krishna. Krishna quite a few times he came to Dhritarashtra, to Durada, to ask for, some sort of peace between the two families, but yet they refused because Dhritarashtra was blind with too much love for his son Duryodhana. He was very envious of the Pandavas. So this is something that we all have in our lives. We become very selfish, we become envious, we become very proud, sometimes arrogant when we have a lot of possessions, when we have good wealth, good sort of stability, have a lot of opulence around us, or a lot of family, friends, so forth. But we forget the real identity of us being the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also serving as devotees. But now, when Dhritarashtra had completely lost everything, lost his children, lost his family, his wealth, his whole kingdom, he realized he didn't have anything else to go. And then Vidura was explaining about the importance of that. Now it's an opportunity for you to surrender fully into Krishna, focus on your life unto serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what's going to happen to us. All of us eventually, we are young now, well, not me, but all of you are. But one day it's going to be a point where I've acquired everything I wanted in my life. I've got the latest Tesla car, I've got the latest Samsung TV, 84-inch TV. I've got the latest, I can fly away from one place to another place, which is really nice. But what it is, there's always something missing in our life. We may have all the friends, that feeling of peace, inside peace, that feeling of connecting our consciousness to the Supreme Lord, which is our eternal, original, constitutional position, to go to the spiritual platform of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we're in the material plane, we're covered by anger, lust, greed, envy, pride, illusion. so many anarthas in a life which is accumulated for many, many lifetimes. And to just free them is not easy, because sometimes you go through spiritual life, you think, oh yes, I love this. This is beautiful. Come to the temples and the beautiful darshans and the lordships, be with the devotees, associated with the devotees, taking prasadam, honoring prasadam, reading the books about the spiritual wonderful topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there is always a time in the back of our heart, back of our mind, is this what I really want? Everybody else is doing this, everybody else is doing that. Do I know that God exists? Why certain things happening to me when I'm praying to God? Certain difficulties come in my life, financial situation, health situation. We see wonderful devotees who have gone to a lot of health issues, that have not been able to utilize the full energy in serving Krishna anymore. But yet somehow or another, they still stay focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have a lot of difficulties in life. We see the stories of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. The whole Bhagavatam is full of stories, wonderful stories about the difficult situations the devotees of Krishna go through, the difficulties the demigods go through, the difficulties as we all read from the last few chapters of the Pandavas, what they went through, what Queen Kunti went through. But yet, they do not flicker an inch away from serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there may be times in your life that you may go through difficulties. So do reach out to Krishna's devotees, do reach out to Krishna himself. The whole idea of praying to Krishna, when you see him in front of you, it's the Lord, Krishna, you are the Supreme Father. I don't have any love, I don't have any devotion, but I know you're my Father. Please help me. Help me to become stronger in my life. Help me to become wiser. Help me to become more compassionate. Help me to become more sort of connected and surrendered, more sort of devoted to serving you and the devotees. Just to understand our situation so we can connect ourselves closer and closer to Krishna, reading, chanting, hearing, all the 9 processes of devotional service that we should try to adhere to, having a nice sadhana in the morning, doing a morning program, having a picture of Radha Krishna at home or deities. Do that with all your love, with all your heart, with all your mind. So thank you very much. And I also wanted to thank so much the devotees who have organized this chant group on a daily basis for many, many years, specifically during the lockdown. Vivi Baranga Mataji, Monica Kumara Mataji, Sriji Kishore Mataji, and unfortunately, Shakshi Mataji and I believe Jyotiben, they've been helping out so much, but now, because of other commitments in their life, they won't be able to participate as much as they could. They'll probably join in, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of activities, arranging a speaker, facilitating, the recitation for the Sanskrit, for the English, for the songs. So we want to give them 3 loud Haribols to Shakshi Ben, Jyoti Ben, Vivi Barangi Mataji, Sriji Kishore Mataji, everybody else who sort of participates in the running of the chant groups every day. Everybody unmute yourself and say 3 Haribols. Haribo.
Haribol.
Thank you so much. And now, Namrata Mataji is going to be changing the Shingabe prayers. And before that, Devika, she's going to be reciting the translation. Is that right, Devika?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, sure. You can go ahead, yeah?
Hare Krishna. I offer my obeisances to Lord Nrsimha, who gives joy to Prahlad Maharaj, and whose nails are like chisels on the stone-like chest from the demon Hiranyakashipu. Lord Nrsimha is here and also there. Wherever I go, Lord Nrsimha is there. He is in the heart and he is outside as well. I surrender to Lord Nrsimha, the origin of all things and the supreme refuge. Prayer of Lord Nrsimha by Jaydev Goswami. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of half man, half lion, all glories to you. Just as one can easily crush a wasp between one's fingernails, so in the same way the body of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu have been ripped apart by the wonderful pointed nails on your beautiful lotus hands. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Devika. It's so lovely recited. How old are you?
I'm 10 years old,
10
Prabhuji.
years old. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Everybody's 3 Haribos to Devika. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you. I'd like
Hare
to
Krishna,
say,
Prabhuji.
are you all right to switch on your camera so we can see your singing? Because you do sing every week. So it'd be nice to see you singing.
Yes, Prabhuji, sure.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And you can
Thank you,
start whenever
Prabhuji.
you want to.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'm going to take the video of when I sing, if that's okay, and then I'll put it back on. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, my Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's bhajan is in glorification of Lord Simhadev Appearance Day on Thursday. Thank you, Santosh Mataji, for always giving me the chance, and please give me the blessing so I can sing for Lord Simhadev. Can you hear me well, Prabhuji?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yep.
Did you want to share your video at all? You said you wanted to share video.
I'm on video. Can you see me?
Oh, yes, sorry. I meant,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, we can see you.
That's
Yes. Thank you.
okay. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralad Lad Daine. Pralad Lad Daine. Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu Rakshava. Shilatan Kan Kalaye. Shilatan Kan Kalaye. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Bahe Narsimha Radhaye Narsimha. Bahe Narsimha Radhaye Narsimha. Narsimha Nadim Sharanam Prapadye. Narsimha Nadim Sharanam Prapadye. Tav kar kamalavare nakamadbhuta shinga. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubinga. Keshavadvita Narharirupa Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tava Kar Kamalavare Naka Madhuda Shinga Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubinga Keshavadvita Narharirupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Vigna Vinasha Jaya Narsimhadev Vigna Vinasha Jaya Narsimhadev Jayo Pralad Maharaj Jayo Pralad Maharaj Pralad Maharaj Jayo Pralad Maharaj Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jayo Jayo Srila Prabhupada 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 Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai Shri Narsimha Dev ki Jai. Thank you Prabhuji and Mataji for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Navratri. So beautifully said. Wishing day for days, of course, on this Thursday, 4th or 5th of March, 4th of March, I think it is. We do really want everybody to come to the temple if you can, if you live nearby, that's really good. If not, it's going to be online. It's going to be the morning program as normal. There'll be a special class, I believe, by Shakta Mataji. And then there's going to be a beautiful yagya. It's recited in the Shiva Kavacha prayers. And then later on in the evening, there's going to be an abhishek of a small Nishima Shila. And then, of course, breaking the fast at twilight as well in honor of Srila Shigadev. So thank you so much. Please continue to pray to Lord Shigadev and Pilar Maharaj to protect our spiritual devotion and service attitude towards other devotees. Thank you everyone for joining in as well, and also please forgive me for any mistakes as well.
Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. You very nice class.
Thank you. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, everyone.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.